When you have a 50-50 portfolio,
Right.
that's 50-50 of where you put your money in assets. 60-40, 50-50, however you look at balanced portfolio, right? But he said the problem is that's not balanced risk.
Is to think about your savings and how much money do you have for savings. And the best way to think about that is to think, how much money do I spend each month? And how much money do I have saved so that I can, how many months am I going to be okay without that?
Indexing is the most basic way to do it for sure. But what all these investors showed me is asset allocation is where the difference is in business, right, in life. If you look at it, the fourth key we talk about in the 4 steps is you got to really understand asset allocation. Because when I was with David Swenson, Dave said, Tony, I said, what are the dials you can move? I mean, there's a limited number of dials you can move to increase your returns, to get to your financial freedom faster. He said, Tony, there's really only 3. He said, you can make a better choice in selection of the actual investments or the securities. You can have better timing, or you can have better asset allocation. He said, let me give you a clue, the first 2 will never happen. He said, because they cost money if you get them from somebody else, and everybody's wrong on timing, everybody's wrong on the stocks. This is where all your money is made as asset allocation.
This leads to what sounds, goes against all the conventional wisdom, what you call all-weather allocation.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. That's
which stocks only 30%.
Yes.
Explain.
Yes. Well, I sat down with the famous Ray Dalio, right?
Right.
And I prepared for 18 hours for that interview because he's a genius and there's not that much on him and I wanted to absorb it all. So I got every little bit of it, sat down with him, and it turned out Ray was a fan of my work, which I was touched by 20 years ago. I guess he listened to my program, so he was very generous with his time. And we spent these 3 hours, and in the 3 hours, when I got to the end, I said to Ray, I said, listen, all my money's already there, my kids' money is there, my money for philanthropy when I'm gone is there, because I'm not gonna be here, and I want something that'll do well in the future, and I don't know what the future is gonna be. Markets are gonna always change. I need something that could work in any market. I call it my all-weather fund. Most of us in the business are familiar with it a little bit. And so he explained it to me, and I have a good understanding. And I said, I get it. So what you're saying is, the reason why, this was obsessed him, why is it if I have a balanced portfolio in 2008, I got nailed on both sides?
Exactly.
Why did that happen in 2000? Everybody says portfolio theory, this is supposed to protect me, and it didn't work. But he said, as soon as things get better, no one talks about it, we just forget about it. It happens again, happened in 2000, happened in 2008. He said, I figured it out. When you have a 50-50 portfolio,
right,
that's 50-50 of where you put your money in assets. 60-40, 50-50, however you look at balanced portfolio, right? But he said the problem is that's not balanced risk.
Is to think about your savings and how much money do you have for savings. And the best way to think about that is to think, how much money do I spend each month? And how much money do I have saved so that I can, how many months am I going to be okay without that? And to value savings, right? And calculate it, because savings in that is freedom and security, and think about what that is. So that's the first. How much do I have for that? The second thing is, how do I save well? What should I put my saving in? And when thinking about what you should put your saving in, realize that the least risk investment that you think from volatility is the least risk investment, which is cash, is the worst investment over a period of time. And you could judge that by judging the rate of inflation in relationship to the after-tax income you're going to earn. So if you have an inflation rate that's 2 or 3% and you're earning 1%, and you have to pay taxes on that 1% or the 1 or 2% that you're going to get, you're going to get taxed essentially at 2% a year, and that's going to be a problem. So you have to move into assets that are other assets that are going to do better over a period of time.
Investing, just for a moment. We're 8.5 years into this bull market. You've given us an idea where we think we are, and you've told us what some of the challenges are. When there is a correction, I mean, there's a correction every year. People don't realize, and on average, since
There are, in 1945, we began a new world order. 1944, we created a new monetary system, the Bretton Woods monetary system. And then we created that new world order. And that created a bull markets in stocks and an American world order for the most part. There's a cycle that we're used to, in which whenever you have an economic downturn, the central bank hits the gas and can create debt expansion, and that produces an increase in demand. And that happens in 3 phases at the cycle. Normally, it's interest rates. You lower interest rates and the economy turns up. But when you hit 0 interest rates, which happened in 1932, debt crisis, 1932, we hit 0 interest rates. That'll carry you so far. And then there's what I call monetary policy 3, which means that that money does not trickle down to the population and go all the places that it's needed to go. And that monetary policy means that there has to be the what we're seeing now in monetary policy. And it has big implications for the value of money. What is the value of money? Where does money go? Cash is going to be a poor investment, and so it goes elsewhere. So that's the character of the environment, which means that if you look at the returns of asset classes and you take cash, isn't it an interesting world when you have 0 or negative interest rates? And then there's the desire to create a spread in that, so the short-term rates are lower than long-term rates. And then when there's so much liquidity, it is the central bank that is making that market. So when we look at the market today, it needs the storehold of wealth, and you see it reflected in all asset classes.